How are you, John? You all right?
I'm doing fantastic, my man. I'm just at home where I've been for the last 7 days straight, getting to know this room very well.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, for anybody who's listening, tell us who you are and what are your achievements? What are you known for?
For me,
Yeah.
look, I'm into all things marketing, online marketing. That's my thing, right? That's my passion. I remember, from first trying to start a business, trying to figure this stuff out, and at the very beginning, it was just a case of trying to create an income, right? And then you find your passion, you find your feet, and just marketing is just taken over, and I love it. So everything video marketing, everything traffic generation, conversion. That's my jam. So we spend millions on our ads, we generate millions in return, and then some. So it's just that's our thing. Traffic and conversions.
Awesome. Love it. So, why marketing? What got you into marketing then?
Um, well, because that was back when I was getting started, which I actually forget the year, but I would have been about 16 years old when I was just trying to figure out the whole internet thing, right? That was where you were supposed to go to build a business back at that time, right? Like the internet had just really started to find its feet, and really start to take off, and that was around the time where I came out of school and was trying to figure out how I could create an income. I didn't want to necessarily just go get a job. I wanted to create an income. So the internet and online stuff seemed like the place you needed to go. So just kind of got my feet wet, just started jumping in, trying to figure stuff out. So it wasn't like it was like marketing is the thing and then into that we went. It would just kind of evolved over time, kind of found some ways to generate an income online, and then that and then you learn how to market that thing that you're doing, because you've got to find more people that are interested, and it just kind of then it just compounds.
And how did you get started? Was that just fiddling about, or did you go straight and in the deep end and get taught by someone? What was the sort of process?
Well, I got the first thing I did was affiliate marketing, so selling other people's products. And by the way, just to address the people here on my Facebook, I apologize, guys, because this camera is the wrong way, but I'm not going to fiddle with it now. So so you're going to have to watch us. They're going to have to watch like this. You're going to have to watch like that if you want to catch this thing. But anyway,
Can't you twist it?
It's pardon?
Can't you twist it?
Yeah, I can't, because I've got this weird gorilla pod thing, and if I try and turn it now, it's got nowhere to. And I don't want to take 5 minutes trying to set it up. So it's more about what we're saying, guys, than what we look like. All right. So just. But look, I got started with affiliate marketing, selling other people's products, and that seemed to be the thing back then. And my way in. This was, I mean, dude, I was 16 years old. I'm now 27, going to be 28 this year. So we're talking, 12 years ago. And I was dabbling online, and I was trying to create an income and grow a business. And so I was buying these courses that would teach you how to do that, right? We call it BizOp now, right?
Yeah.
So I was buying these courses, and I was trying to learn. I was trying to follow all these amazing sounding push button, systems, right? To generate income online. Slowly realized that that's just not possible in a pile of turd. And so the more I started going through these courses, the more I started realizing, hey, probably other people are getting caught in some of these, I don't want to say scam, right? Because people throw around that term very, very loosely, which they shouldn't. But close to that, right? Borderline, just like this isn't going to help someone. So I started doing reviews of online courses. I would purchase the latest BizOp, and I'd go through it and I'd review it, and then I would do a video on YouTube reviewing that course. Right. And it was a win-win for me, because I could just be totally honest and transparent as to whether I think it's actually any good, and save someone purchasing it to go and find out themselves. And then if it was good, I'd say, hey, yeah, it's actually, in conclusion, it's a great course, and if you want to pick it up, I'll actually throw in some bonuses for you if you go through my affiliate link. And if it was a bad course, then I'd say, hey, look, actually, this thing's a pile of trash. You don't want to invest in that. Actually, this other program is really great. And then I would point them to the program that I do recommend. So that I kind of like started getting some real traction with that. And I just figured out this little YouTube game where I could put these videos on YouTube for the search term that people would be searching for. And we got so much traction from it, dude. And we were doing really well. I would have been about 17 now at the time, and was making about 10, 20 grand a month just doing these little YouTube review videos, it was crazy. So that was fun. And then the next transitional piece was then once I'd figured out this YouTube thing, and that was super fun, and I realized I could pretty much just rank any video that I wanted on YouTube for any search term, then I just started teaching people how to do it. I created an online course thinking, well, you know, if it's helped me grow my income to learn how to put these videos out on YouTube and get traffic from them, then someone else might want to learn. So I just created a course around it. And then that course really took off. And we did really well with that. And then that just opened up the floodgates into the world of marketing.
I love that. And in terms of where you are now, how much are you spending on marketing? What's an average monthly spend on marketing?
We spend probably across all of our own campaigns about 6 figures a month.
6 figures a month, wow.
But that's just for our stuff, right? Because there's a lot of people will throw out big numbers, but there might be an agency, for example. So they've got that is spread across, you know, 20, 30 clients. So we're just doing that just for our own programs and coachings and things that we've got going on.
Yeah, and where is most of your advertisement spend then on marketing? What's your preferred? YouTube
at the minute. I mean, look, Facebook's still great. Got nothing against Facebook. In fact, we have a training course that still teaches Facebook, and we do very well with a business partner of mine. But for me and my stuff, YouTube gets the lion's share. You know, it would be 70-30. You know, 70% YouTube, 30% Facebook and Instagram. It's just, dude, YouTube's a wide open platform, and people don't realize it's pretty insane once you figure it out.
Yeah, I love that. So in terms of you saying at 16-year-old, you decided you were going to take this entrepreneurial journey. What was life like growing up prior to that? What was how did you get into this at 16? What was let's rewind backwards through your childhood. What was it like?
It was interesting because when I was back in school, I just realized I need to just turn you up a little bit. Yeah, when I was back in school, it was difficult because I couldn't pay attention as a kid at school. I couldn't get to grips with the idea that we've got to sit here at this desk, you know, for however many hours of the day, just listening to someone and doing what we're told. I don't know, I just didn't resonate with it. I just didn't. So I was the class clown, you know. I was messing around every lesson, trying to, you know, throw the teacher off, trying to distract everybody. Like I was just being a class clown. Yeah. I ended up getting kicked out of most lessons that I was in, and you know, always sat outside the head teacher's office. Never really spent more time out of class than in class, and then it got to the point where the headmaster was just trying to get me out of school basically. And you know, my parents were amazing, dude. They were constantly fighting for me to stay in school and this, that, and the other. So they were constantly having meetings. In fact, there was a period towards the end of school, my dad was in school every single day for a meeting with another teacher about my behavior and this, that, and the other. And it got to the point where they started to get me out of school. So one day a week, I started doing work experience, just because the school was saying, well, look, he's not learning anything here. We may as well, you know, let's put him in some work experience, try him there. So I was doing some work experience in a leisure center. Right. Leisure center where they had all kinds of sporty stuff going on, as well as they had a cafe there. And I was just helping out on anything and everything that I could. And I loved it and I thrived on it. It was really weird. I just kind of, I don't know, I got stuck in and I worked really hard, and, you know, and it was like the weirdest thing, to where the head teacher was getting these red reports from my behavior at school continuously. And then he's getting these reports from the work experience place, the leisure center. And they were saying, he's absolutely amazing. He's better than some of our employed staff. Like he's incredible. And so then they started and moved me to 2 days. So 2 days a week, I was doing work experience as opposed to being at school. And then they were offering me a job. They were like, look, as soon as you finish school, you can come work here. Like, you know, this is going really well. And they're sending these amazing reports back to school. And the thing that I put this down to, by the way, dude, is, you know, people like us, like we're creative, right? Like we don't want to be confined in something. So as soon as I was able to go on this work experience and I could like do all these different things, like I was thriving in that environment. So I just don't like sitting and listening. It's so difficult, it's so challenging for me. So anyway, then it progressed to 3 days a week. They got me out because I was too naughty at school. So then my dad ended up leaving his job for 1 day a week so that he could home tutor me for an extra day, just so I didn't get permanently excluded, so on and so forth. So dude, it was just, you know, school was rough. I wanted to get out and do something. And so coming back to your question of, well, at 16, how did we get into this? Well, it's because as soon as we left school, you know, you're told, well, what do you want to do? You've got to go do some things. What do you want to do? You're out in the big wide world now. And I remember always thinking, I want to be an entrepreneur. Whatever this thing is that they're calling an entrepreneur, I want to be it, right? I want to create my own income. I want to create my own, I want to build something, I didn't understand why only adults could make money and kids could. I mean, even dude, you go back to when I was 11 years old, and I wanted to start earning an income. I was confused as to why kids couldn't make money except for a pound for doing the dishes, why can't kids make money, but why can adults make money? I couldn't understand that. So at 11 years old, I was like, man, I want to go make some money. So I tried to get a paper round, and you can't get a paper round until you're 12 years old, or at least that was back when I was doing it. So I ended up just starting a car washing business, and I went around 11 years old, dude. And I went around and I drew out this little leaflet. I've got it somewhere in my drawers, because I've saved it. It was this little handwritten leaflet, and I drew a picture of a dirty car, and then I drew a picture of a clean car, and I said, "Do you want your car to look like this? And I'll come around and clean."
Awesome.
And I was drumming up business, dude. I remember we went away as a family on to Canada that summer when I was 11. The end of the summer when I was doing all this car washing. At 11 years old, I kid you not, I made £1,000 in a summer.
Wow.
And so then I wasted it in Canada. I went and bought. I was well into basketball at that point, so I just bought a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so ever since a young age, I wanted to build. So at 16, when I left school, I figured I would just start a restaurant. That's what I wanted to do, because I was passionate about cooking and whatnot. So I went and studied as a chef for 2 years, thinking I could start a restaurant, not realizing that at 16 years old, going to the bank asking for 100 grand to open a restaurant, probably not going to go too well.
Yeah.
So that dream died quite quick. Dude, it just, I don't know. There's no one point we can put our finger on, can we? It's just in our DNA. We just what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and I was the same at school. Didn't do very well. I don't know if you've seen my Facebook post last month I put on with all my reports, where I was on a special report with the teachers that I get sent home to my dad for progress. For me, I just hated school. I just didn't like being there at all. And again, it was just how much I could piss about. That was the only thing that I sort of done when I was there.
Yeah.
Who's had the biggest impact in your life then, Jon?
Biggest impact in my life. Well, look, I've got the potentially the woo-woo answer, and then the very physical, practical answer, because I'm a Christian. So for me, genuinely, I would say Jesus. I believe I have a relationship with him, and he's had the biggest impact in my life. Everything I'm doing is trying to align with his heart and what he wants, and I believe he's got a plan for my life. So that's the biggest thing. He's been the biggest influence on my life. But then practically and physically, my parents probably, my parents have been the biggest supports for me. They've never doubted me. I've never, ever experienced from them, discouragement for any of these weird, crazy, wacky ideas, that I wanted to build, even when back when, because there was a little in between period where I was making some money on eBay, and I was buying and selling stuff. So I'd pack out the garage with big boxes of wholesale things, and my parents are just encouraging it, right? And I'm flooding their house with these random boxes. So yeah, they've been hugely encouraging.
No, I used to do that as well. It's funny you say that. I used to go on the markets and get loads of things, and used to love trading and things like that on eBay myself. Tell us, it's interesting what you say about Jesus having a plan for you. How does that affect you controlling your own life if someone's got a plan for you?
Because I'm in line with him, right? So my desire is connected to his. I genuinely believe my entire life and my being is for him, and it isn't coming from a place of, all right, there's a big bad God up there, and I've got to do what he says or he's going to smite me. You know what I mean? I've been brought up in a Christian household, and I remember the period where it was, I would call myself a Christian. On a Sunday I'd go to church, but then at school I'm misbehaving. I didn't want anyone to know I was a Christian. I didn't want my friends to know it. Are you kidding me? You don't let them know, right? So all that was going on, and I remember a turning point where I really felt like, man, I want to investigate this stuff for myself, and kind of went on my own, I guess some people would call it a spiritual journey, right? And so I'm in a place right now where it doesn't feel like it's like, oh, yeah, I feel like God's pulling me in one direction and I want to go the other. Right?
Yeah.
I feel like, man, my life is for you now, and I want to, you know, I want to follow what you've got for me. So it feels aligned for me, you know.
Yeah. And you mentioned the word spiritual there. Are you a spiritual person? How does that tie in with religion?
Well, kind of, because I wouldn't even call myself religious, you know, because religion seems to dictate, and I'm not pointing out any particular religion, but that word religious doesn't really relate to me, because that symbolizes rules, regulations. You know, you've got to do this, or you got to do that, or you've got to be a good enough person, or you'll go to hell. You know, so like all this stuff, I'm not into that. You know, I genuinely believe, at a very, very simple message, is that we are fallen people. We're a sinful people. We need saving, and we've got a savior, and he's saved us, and now we want to align with his heart. You know, so I've actually forgotten the original question. What was your question?
It was around, are you a spiritual person?
Oh, yeah.
Where does it line with your religion, or with a religion?
Yeah, so as spiritual as I get is just because I believe there is a God. I believe we can have a relationship with him, but it's obviously not practical and physical, like, you know, sat here next to me and you can see it's in the spiritual realm, you know.
No, I love that. What's the secrets to growing a successful business? So how do you go from that 16-year-old kid who just wants to start out in business to get to where you are now? What's the secrets?
The secrets. Everyone wants to know the secrets. Wow, where do we start, man? Because there's so many. So what are the secrets to just getting started, is what you said, or
Successful business? I know you can't obviously cover everything, but what's the key things if someone's wanting to know, well, they're in business or they're wanting to start business, how have you been able to, I mean, look at the facts. 8 out of 10 businesses go bust in the first 5 years. And there's a stat that says only 1% of business owners become millionaires. What separates you from other business owners?
Well, look, the first thing that comes to mind feels very cliche, but it is the thing that I need to say, which is it's not giving up and it's not giving in. You know what I mean? Like there are a lot of business owners that would get into a business or start something and give up after a period of time, right? Like there's only so much that certain people can take. Like I know people around me. I know, you know, friends of mine that are just, you know, they're not cut out for it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like not everyone is cool, you know, is built to be an entrepreneur, or to be like, some other people prefer to be, you know, in a job where they feel like they're building a team with it. So like, there's no right or wrong, but some people just aren't cut out for it because they'll try something and the fear of failure will hold them back. And so they'll never actually launch something. Or if they experience that failure, that emotion is just too much to have. So they don't want to run the risk of falling into that again, you know? Like, dude, I had so many. I was sharing this at Matt's event that you were there with me. Really? Like, dude, I literally remember times, it's so silly and embarrassing for me to say, but like, I remember times being sat on the kitchen floor, like crying my eyes out, just thinking like my business has fallen apart. I don't know the way forward. Like I've had those moments, but then you pick yourself back up, you dust yourself off and you try something else, you know? So that's the biggest thing, is just not giving up. Like I genuinely believe that really strange phrase. I forget who says it, but you know, something about the only way you're not going to succeed is by giving up. Because if you fail times, you'll find a way to make it work. So that's the first thing. Second thing is my passion. Right now, marketing. Everyone has to learn marketing, right? Like they all blend into the same. Like we talk about marketing and sales a lot, and we put these two in the same conversation. Sales is great as well. Like I think in some instances they go hand in hand. Yeah. Because I'm doing, you know, when we hear the word sales, we imagine, I can't pick up my phone. You imagine picking up the phone and talking. Like that's what we imagine of sales, or having a meeting with someone. But like they go hand in hand. Like I've got webinars that run, like they're running right now. I have automated webinars running right now that are selling our courses, and people are buying them, and I've never had to even speak to them. And it's because I figured out a way to speak to the right person at the right time with the right message and compel them to move forward. So that's a skill that every business owner needs. Doesn't matter what you're doing, right? If we're talking about the online context that I'm in, great, marketing. If we're talking about, you know, just even a brick and mortar business, or someone who is just is a tradesman, right? They need to learn how to get past referrals You know, they've exhausted their neighborhood and their mum and dad's referrals, and now they need to learn how to actually market themselves. Even restaurants and cafes and places like this, you know, it blows my mind when they don't realize simple ways to position themselves differently and stand out from everyone else, which comes under the umbrella of marketing, to get repeat business.
Yeah.
There's a place here in Canterbury that where I live, by the way, where me and my wife go to a lot, and we absolutely love it. But the staff there are miserable, right? They're really miserable.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time, and we say, look, if their food wasn't so darn good, we would not go back, because there's nothing compelling us outside the fact, I mean, their food is actually amazing. But there's nothing outside of that compelling us to go back. Whereas if it was just their food was kind of the same as everywhere else, you know, they have to continue to try and find new business. Because people want to come back. You didn't create an experience. You didn't market yourselves while they were there, you know? So marketing is the second big one.
Yeah. And what happens if someone's no good at marketing or they don't like it? I guess that's when they come to someone like yourself, yeah?
Well, you come to someone like myself and you can learn it. Or if you've tried to learn it for a few years and you just don't enjoy it, you're not connected with it, then find someone else who's an expert to partner with, you know? You can't go without it.
Yeah.
You can't just open up a florist in the middle of town and just hope people come. You might get a bit of footfall, but you know, you can't do that. You can't, just like you can't create a website, you know, that whole phrase of build it and they will come. Where did that come from?
Yeah.
You build it and they will come, you know? No, build it and they'll go find some people that want it, you know?
But I think that's how most people do approach business though, don't they? They just expect that it is going to come.
Well, they do, right? Especially with the whole, I mean, we're going back 10 years now, but with the whole internet boom, the real boom, like things, when people are starting to transact online, people still thought like you could just pop up a website and people will find it. And to be fair, there was probably a bit of truth to that back when the internet was brand spanking new, because when Google was fresh out the gate, you probably could just type in dog training and you just popped up and you made some money. But you know, now not so much, you know, there's so many pages indexed on, like you're not going to get found.
No.
You can't just like get wix.com and create a site and people are going to start coming. Absolutely not.
So what's the biggest achievement that you've had in your life?
Ooh, biggest achievement. I did, do you know what, this is, I could probably come up with a more impressive sounding one if I had some time to think, but the one that comes to mind, which was at the same time one of the best experiences of my life, was we entered this charity run that we did this one year. This was back, gosh, was it 2005 or 2015 or 2016? But me and a handful of friends, we entered this charity run to drive in a little tuk-tuk, you know, these little rickshaw things that drives around in India. Well, we borrowed three of those, and we had to drive from the south of India to the north. We're talking almost 3,000 kilometers. We had to do it in 2 weeks, and we didn't have a map. We had no directions, and we had no clue or hint of how we needed to get to this place. And we weren't allowed to use any, so like we didn't have a guide, we didn't have a backup vehicle, nothing like that. And that was wild, like actually wild. You know, the first few days you're just driving on these crazy dangerous roads and trying to make headway and just hoping that you're going north and still getting somewhere. Experienced breakdowns, experienced crashes and injuries and all kinds of stuff. And then the second week, we were then realizing how far away we actually are from the finish line, and we've got a week to do it. So we were driving solid 12-hour days in this tiny little rickshaw. Dude, that was wild. So that was quite a big achievement because we made it. Love it.
What's the biggest cock up you've made in business that you can laugh at now?
Oh, the one that comes to mind, I still can't laugh at because it's still fresh enough to not laugh at. This was about 3 or 4 years ago, but you know, I had some issues with my accounting. You know, we hate that word, right? Like, had issues with my accounting, and dude, it was just a mess, man. I had a meeting with my accountant. There was a 70 or 80,000 pound VAT bill that came out of nowhere that I had no idea we owed. Tax was 100,000 more than I was expecting. We had this bill that, like, we had a bunch of stuff going on. Like altogether, it was like 150 something. It's like 190,000, something like that. Anyway, like a humongous, bill that I owed, and that was just a crazy time of just sifting through so much paperwork, trying to figure out whether there's mistakes being made. And in fact, there were. And so I'm trying to think. So the biggest mistake was, man, I didn't have my eye on accounting. I just trusted my accountant wholeheartedly. And you know, on his own accord, they were making some mistakes internally. And because I didn't have an accounting brain, I just wasn't really aware of what was going wrong until it all hit the fan, and then started a 2-year long thing of trying to get my accounts back up to date and get them in shape. So that was a really rough time. That was like, when you hit like potentially going out of business, it was getting close, So that was a scary time, but we passed that. So I suppose I can laugh a little bit, but probably if you ask me.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I was interviewing Dan Bradbury the other day, and he said the same thing. When I asked him a similar question, it was around accounts as well, where he'd try to do something offshore, and he said it got him burnt by, again, not having his finger on the pulse and just trusting. So yeah, I get that. It's and it's not easy when you feel that pain. Next question I'd like to ask you is, what's the biggest challenge you've faced in business?
The challenge I faced. Well, had I not given that accounting answer to the question before, I probably would have said that.
Yeah. Okay. So how did you deal with that? How did you wind your way out of that? What was the sort of mindset behind it? Because you were close to the wire, yeah? You could have gone bust.
We were so close to the wire, and we had an event coming up real soon that was going to cost 60,000 to put on. We're doing a big event in London, so it was all kicking off at the same time. So how did I overcome that challenge? Well, there's a couple of things. One was actually trying to get a bit more of an accounting brain and trying to figure out what was going on here. Two was not just accepting that was it and I've got to pay this thing now. I've got to try and figure out if there's any mistakes made, which there were. I ended up actually being able to just completely remove from that bill 70,000 because VAT had been completely misrepresented on the accounts. So I went back and went through with a fine-tooth comb trying to figure out where everything had been misplaced. So it's things like that. And then, but I tell you the biggest plug that we filled in this leaky bucket was realizing, man, every month we're going into a fresh month. Well, there's two things actually. We're going into a fresh month and we're trying to drum up business again, right? We're selling our online courses, we're selling our coaching, we're selling these different things. But everything's a one-time payment type thing. So you're going every month, and we're doing really well, by the way. But you're going to every month and you're trying to find new customers. So I realized, man, we should really have a recurring model in our business somewhere. We should have a way where we are getting paid every month, and we go into every month and we know what is coming in for the month. So that was a big goal, was to now create something recurring, which we did. We launched a new program. In fact, we actually remodeled one we already had and turned it into a recurring model. And that was really good. And then we got that up to about 40 or 50,000 a month in recurring. And that feels real good, man. You go into a new month and you've got 50 grand there already that covers your bills. Just covers hard costs. That's what it's for. Yeah. Just covers all the hard costs, team, office, software, all that kind of stuff. So that was the first thing, was building some recurring models into what we're doing. The second thing was being really, really conscious of having reserves in the bank. I feel very fortunate and blessed right now where we've got a big old pile of stuff in the bank that's just there, completely liquid, and we have those reserves. So going into a time like this with COVID-19 or whatever else at the time of recording this, there's a lot of panic, a lot of frustration, and of course we're still trying to figure certain things out, but I'm comfortable in my team don't have to worry about whether they're going to get laid off or not. We've got reserves for the company, and that feels very, very good. So those two things, recurring and actually building up reserves.
Yeah, and I get that because as you know, I'm quite open about this as well. Where we are with our own project, we normally have a really good buffer, and due to intercompany loans, lending money into our big project, which will all come back. The deal stacks up. We're just caught out with obviously this totally bizarre times of of the coronavirus, and
Mm.
it's left us with best part of 400 grand sat in a deal of our own money, which it's now kind of tied in until we can put the whole thing to bed. So I get that. We're kind of in that situation now where we had the pot, we've put it into something, knowing we get it back out, and we could now do with it. I wish I hadn't put so much of intercompany loans in, but hey, there's a lesson there.
Yeah.
Who is the most inspirational person on the planet right now to you, and why?
On the planet. Oh, okay. Inspirational person. If we're talking about actual people, probably the person that comes to mind is actually, for me, Russell Brunson.
Okay.
I'm hugely inspired by what he's done, what he's achieved, what he's built. I'm sure if we sat here for long enough, there'd be more names that popped up, but that's the first one that came into my mind. I've been through mentorship and stuff with him. Actually built a great friendship with him. And so he's not only a great friend, but I still consider him someone that I look up to very much, because his customer base is the same as mine. The stuff that he's doing is very similar, minus the software, to what I'm doing. So I enjoy keeping up with what he's doing and following what he's doing, and I just feel very inspired by everything that he creates and puts out.
Yeah, and if people don't know who he is, who is Russell Brunson? Obviously, I know who he is, but if people don't know him.
Yeah, he's this guy that works in the butchers just down the road from me. No, he's one of the biggest names in internet marketing. You know, he's the founder of ClickFunnels, which is a software application that allows you to build web pages and funnels and all kinds of good stuff. But I think they're doing now about 120 million a year, something like that.
120 million a year, wow.
And I believe that's just from the ClickFunnels memberships too. Whereas, like, for Russell, one of the biggest things is selling his books and his training and his coaching, whatever else. So that number goes up if you add everything else. So it's an inspiring number.
It's probably just gone up a bit further after you just give him another mention as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Jon, you've mentioned there that you've got mentors, you've got people you look up to. The common thing what I've found in building success is every person that I've worked with in mastermind groups, obviously we're in the same group, is they all invest in themselves. And you've just mentioned that yourself. How long have you been doing that for? What sort of level of investment do you put into yourself, and why do you see that as being important?
That's a great question, man. And it's huge, and it's so important. You know, I've got to a point now in my business where if I'm wanting to learn something new about marketing, right? If I'm trying to figure something out, I don't just buy an online course and try and go through that, right? I don't just try and figure something out online and watch, endless YouTube videos trying to figure this thing out. Like, I just go and find who's doing this successfully right now at the top of their game, and I just go straight to them, you know? And I've been doing that for years now, you know? So some examples would be joining Russell Brunson's training. I went into his inner circle, which was $25,000 at the time. It's $50,000. No, actually, just closed. It went to 50,000. He just closed it. So I joined that. I spent some time with Frank Kern, gave him 10 grand to figure some stuff out with email. There's a guy called Dave Van Hoos back in the day who was doing some stuff with webinars. So I spent 12.5 grand on a 1-day consultation with him. That's it. No follow-up. It was just 1 day.
12 grand for a day.
12 grand for a day. Yeah, he was doing well. And then just recently, my buddy Alex Becker was doing, and here's the thing too, man, and this is what I really, really value and appreciate when people do this. And I know that you're a big believer in this too, because we've had this conversation, is when people are buddied up, there's almost like this unspoken rule that now that just means that we devalue the stuff that we're good at and that we can do, you know? So, you know, people just expecting freebies or handouts just because they know each other, right? I'm a big believer in, look, you know, even if you're buddied up with someone, you know, pay them what they're worth if you're wanting to learn from them, you know? So like Alex Becker, I was good friends with for a while. We had built a friendship online for many, many years. But then his business really took off, and he was really figuring out some stuff about YouTube ads that I just didn't know. He was doing it at a bigger level than us. We were spending about $5,000 a day. He was spending about $20,000 a day, and we just could not get to that level. So what am I going to do? I could hit him up and try and wangle my way into an hour-long chat with it, or I paid him 30 grand to join his year-long membership and learn from him, a friend of mine. I know that you do the same, man, because we've spoken about this, and I want to give credit to Steve, because first time we met, you went, dude, like, how can I join your course? Like, I want to learn, like, it's like these things I think are really important. That doesn't mean we don't help each other out, right? It doesn't mean we just leave each other on the wayside. We're in a mastermind together called, what's it called now? We changed the name.
I know, I forget it now.
Association of something. Anyway,
association.
In there, we're obviously all helping each other, and we'll shoot each other voice messages and help each other. But then I feel like if it comes to a point where you want to learn something for full on, then you just jump straight into their thing, right? So anyway, I'm kind of rambling off on that one. But dude, I'm constantly investing in myself. It doesn't stop. I've spent well over 6 figures into my education now at this point, and it's because you can really look at two things, right? Like, the way I describe it to my clients is, if you're trying to learn something, and let's say that you're learning something is like you're trying to get out of a maze, right? You're stuck in this maze, you can't get out, and going it alone, trying to figure it out, trying to watch YouTube videos is like just wandering around this maze, trying to find an exit and continuing to get lost and stuck and finding a dead end, and I can't get around that bit, whatever. Like, then investing in training or going to a seminar or just investing in some training is like someone giving you a map. So now you're following a map, but the map's not working, right? It's got some bits that are rubbed out, or a path has changed since that map was created. And all this kind of, so you're still getting stuck. It might help a bit. Coaching and mentorship is like going to the person who's been there, done that, escaped the maze, and now can give you a bird's eye view. And say, take a left, take a right, go straight, take a left. So it's too costly to do the first two options, right? And the biggest objection people have to coaching is they go, well, look, but it's really expensive. If you want to get coached by someone, it's really expensive. And I say, yeah, but you're only counting the financial cost. You are not counting any other cost, and there are so many. You're not counting the cost in time, in frustration, in energy. Like, if the neglecting of your family, if you're having to spend all that time just glued to your laptop, like, there's so much other cost that you have to count other than financial, Yeah. So anyway, man, that was a big answer to a simple question.
I love that, because the passion always comes out, especially with guys like yourself, John, who are big believers in that. Because I forget who it was. I don't know if it was John Lee I was speaking to yesterday, and on this podcast as well. And just saying that I don't ever look at anything as a cost. It's just the ROI. That's the only thing I'm looking at. Will I at least get my money back? And if I will, then it's costing me not to take that particular action. It's for me, it just seems so logical, and I don't get it when people say having coaches and mentors, it's expensive, it's a rip-off and stuff like that. It's like you say, for me, it's such a shortcut to just go to someone and go, tell me exactly how to do that. And I learned from that in the property world. Nobody taught me. So I've struggled and literally made every mistake that you can possibly make, because I didn't really know about coaches and mentors back then. But once I decided that I wanted to train people and become a professional speaker, I thought, there's no way am I going through that same pain again. So I'm now going to find somebody who can show me how to set up this professional speaking business and do it very quickly and do it the right way straight away. And that's why I obviously went to Andy Harrington, who we both know and work with. Yeah. And that was to the tune of 35 grand. And I remember my dad saying to me, you're going to pay £35,000 for somebody to teach you how to speak. I've done that for nothing. But people just don't get that. But in terms of the return I've had, I've probably had 10, 20 times plus that figure back.
Well, and what's crazy, right, is some people have that understanding of, why are you going to pay someone 35,000 to go learn something? Yet we don't question established institutions like colleges and universities and whatever else, right? Like that's what blows my mind. I'm not saying there's necessarily anything wrong with certain courses at uni, right? There's some things you have to go to uni for, but there's other things that people just go, what do I do next? All right, well, I may as well follow the crowd and go to uni. and we don't bat an eyelid at how much that costs. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
when it's some dude online saying, hey, I can help you learn this, you know, it blows my brain.
No, I get that. And I do think, though, that there is the flip side to that, John. There is people who do it for the wrong reason. And I do think that the people like yourself and me can sometimes get branded with that same name because of people doing it for the wrong reasons, which is the next question I want to come on to. Why do you do what you do? What's the vision and why are you doing what you do? What's the driver?
I got to a point a few years back where I remember I was stuck in this way of, you know, you're building your business because you want to create an income. And look, everyone starts there. Yeah, I can't say everyone. Some people probably don't. But for a lot of people, it starts there, right? You want freedom in your life. You want to, you know, be financially free, whatever, like all these reasons come into play. And so your main driver is that you're trying to make some money, right? Like we can't deny that. But you get to a point, you really do get to a point where once you've started making good money, it becomes about much bigger things and you don't actually care about the money anymore. You know, like for me now, I don't think about money as I used to. I really don't. Like it's a resource and I can use that resource for so many ways. One is, like I've talked about, putting the reserves in the bank. The second is partnering up with people and actually making a difference. Like I've got some friends of ours that moved from our church here in the UK, our old church, actually back in Hastings, not even Canterbury. They moved out to the Philippines. They're doing an incredible work out there in the Philippines, but they need a lot of funding. So not only are me and my wife able to financially support them, but we're constantly going out there and visiting them and being a part of what they're doing. And they're putting on feeding programs. They're schooling these kids that otherwise wouldn't get any schooling. They're clothing these kids. They're looking after the families. They're out, like they're doing so much good. And I can't tell you how fulfilling it feels to be able to put, I mean, I know you know this feeling too. You know, it's like no other feeling, right? So that's one reason why I do what I do, because we can actually make a difference. You know, the second thing is because the results that we get for our clients and the students that come and work with us, man, when they get success, like it lights you up. Like we've got a Slack thread. We use that for our team communication. Now we've got a bunch of Slack threads for different communications throughout the team. We literally have a dedicated channel to success stories. And every time anyone on the team hears about, you know, a success from a client, whatever else, you know, we screenshot that, we throw it in that Slack thread, and we all get all excited about it. You know, like that's one of the biggest drivers for me and everyone on the team. We actually get excited when our clients win, and that for me actually feels more like I'll give you a very real example, and I don't do this very often. I've got a coaching program that's more of an inexpensive one. It's called Expert Accelerator. And my team are on the phone and they're having conversations with people to see if they're a good fit for that program, because we don't just invite anyone in. We actually do have a screening process. And he was on a call with someone and it really felt good. Like, you know, the guy's name was Jeff, who was on my team taking the call. And it really, really felt good. And then at the end of the call, you know, the couple got cold feet and they jumped off. And Jeff was filling me in with their business and what they do and what they're into. And it was like something that actually got me excited. I was like, man, I think we could really help these people. So I ended up like shooting them a personal video, which I never do this for hardly anyone, but I shot them a personal video just addressing them and said, look, I know you spoke to Jeff and this and the other. I'm basically just saying, look, I really think I can help you, you know, and I'd like you to reconsider coming into the program, because I think what we've got is right up your street and what you need, you know. Now I can say honestly, like that video was not about just making a sale, right? Of course, it'd be lovely to have another client. It'd be lovely to have another client. Great. But I actually got more excited about the idea of being able to help them and ultimately see the success than their fee to come in, you know? And I really mean that. So it changes, right? Your thinking about money does change.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. Two last questions, John. This podcast called Discipline. That's what my company's called, Discipline. I believe discipline is the foundation to success, and anyone who's achieving something of any worth, there has to be discipline behind that. So what's your take on that, and what's your discipline that you apply to get you where you are now?
That's really good. I love that, dude. And I love that's the name of this podcast too. So I would spin it, you know, into my language in what we're doing, which is for me something that I've been really doubling down on recently are two things which do come in line with the word discipline, which is focus and simplicity.
Yeah.
Right. So and I've been teaching this to our clients too, because every time I learn something and we implement it, we pass it on. That's what's fun about what we do. But you know, I was talking about the focus piece. You know, when you get to a certain income level, right, and you're trying to scale past it, for a lot of our customers and higher ticket clients, it might be that they've got to the 10K a month, right, and they're trying to break through into even going up to 6 figures a month. And there is a completely different journey that needs to happen between 0 to 10 and 10 to 100. And it's not trying to learn more traffic, right? It's not going, okay, right, and now I've got to add in 10 other traffic sources. It's not about building more funnels and doing more stuff. It's actually about focusing on the things in your business that are actually doing well and doubling down on those things. And then the second piece that comes into play with that is the simplicity. I found with my company, we were stuck for a long time, man, at 6 figures a month, right? So we're doing about, $1 million a year, which amazing, right? I mean, absolutely amazing. And it still blows me away to think about this, but we were stuck. We wanted to grow and we couldn't. So our idea of growing was that we'll just launch more stuff, right? We'll have tons and tons of online trainings. If we're doing 1 million, with 1 or 2 courses, then if we launch another 2 or 3, perhaps we'll do 2 million. And and it didn't work out like that, because your time, energy, and attention is finite. You have a specific amount of it. Yeah. So just because you're doing, 1 million a year with your 100% attention on that thing, well, it's not like now you launch something else and you get another 100% worth of time, energy, and attention. Yeah. It's now split. So everything that you add, all these different things, you're splitting your focus in that many chunks, and nothing's really getting the time, energy, attention it deserves. So you get stuck, and you might even diminish. And so simplicity comes in where you say, look, what are the 2 or 3 things that I really, really want to double down on? What is working really well? Which is why, circling back to the beginning of this conversation, for us, YouTube ads gets the lion's share of what we do. And we're not trying to do everything. We do YouTube and we do Facebook ads, and that's about it. A little bit of, Google Display Network is coming into the mix now and things like that. But it's not like we're now running ads on Snapchat and LinkedIn and Twitter and Pinterest, and we're trying to do everything because, again, we're split. So we find the things that are working really well and we simplify everything. So we deleted tons and tons of sales funnels from our ClickFunnels account because it was just too much. It was complex. We simplified everything. So I love the word discipline, and for me, it's played out itself in focus and simplicity.
No, I love that. Last question, Jon, and it's quite a deep one. Okay, we're going to fast forward now, and it's Jon's funeral, and we're at your funeral, and your family, close friends, peer group are there. What do you want them to say about you? What do you want to be remembered for?
I would want to be remembered for a few things. One is I want to be remembered for actually making a difference in the world. I wouldn't want to just disappear and it's almost like no one really realizes you're gone. I'd love to know that the things that I did actually made a difference and had a ripple effect. But in terms of specific words, man, I'd love to be remembered as someone who was kind, who was generous, and who made time for others. It's a big thing. Like friendship to me is really important, and I never want to lose sight of that. Making time for those that matter, and also actually, making time for those that don't matter. That's another big one too, and that's the challenging one. It's very easy to give time to people who are nice to you and are friendly to you, but the challenge, I'm thinking, man, how can I give time, to people who are, potentially not friends of mine, but perhaps not even kind to me. Like, for example, we've got. I'm not saying this to show off, but just because it's coming up in the conversation. Me and my wife, we just put a sign on the end of our driveway during this isolation period where everyone is locked in, and we do see a few elderly people walking up and down the street, and we're just wondering, are you actually able to get all the supplies you need? So we've just put a little sign on the end of our drive that says, look, if you're struggling to get anything that you need during this time, just drop a letter through our note, or just, we left pens and paper. We just make a note, tell us what you need, let us know. And we're trying to do these things because that's what lights you up, right? And anyway, so it's probably a mixture of that little ramble.
I love that, Jon, and it's just you've just described the guy that you are, and the guy that I see. So I absolutely love that. I'm going to stop the live. So that's cut there. Jon, absolutely pleasure interviewing you there. It was amazing. It's going to go out on the YouTube channel and across our various platforms, hopefully next month.
Good stuff, man. Awesome. Good to spend some time with you. Thanks so much for this.
You too. Take care, Jon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy. Bye now.